Know thyself. If happiness is based on feeling pleasant sensations, then in order to be happier, we need to re-engineer our biochemical system. If happiness is based on feeling that life is meaningful, then in order to be happier, we need to delude ourselves more effectively. If there's a third alternative, both the above views share the assumption that happiness is some sort of subjective feeling of either pleasure or meaning, and that in order to judge people's happiness, as we need to do is ask them how they feel. To many of us, that seems logical because the dominant religions of our age is liberalism. Liberalism sanctifies the subjective feelings of individuals. It views these feelings as the supreme source of authority. What is good and what is good and what is bad, what is beautiful and what is ugly, what ought to be and what ought not to be, are all determined by what each one of us feels. Liberal politics is based on the idea that the voters know best, and there is no need for Big Brother to tell us what is good for us. Liberal economics is based on the idea that the customer is always right. Liberal arts declares that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Students in liberal schools and universities are taught to think for themselves. Commercials urge us to just do it. Action films, stage dramas, soap operas, novels, and catchy pop songs indoctrinate us constantly. Be true to yourself. Listen to yourself. Follow your heart. Jean-Jacques Rousseau stated this view most classically. What I feel to be good is good. What I feel to be bad is bad. People who have been raised from infancy on a diet of such slogans are prone to believe that happiness is a subjective feeling and that each individual best knows whether she is happy or miserable. Yet this view is unique to liberalism. Most religions and ideologies throughout history stated that their objective yardsticks for goodness and beauty and for how things ought to be. They were suspicious of the feelings and preferences of the ordinary person. At the entrance of the temple of Apollo at Delphi, pilgrims were greeted by the inscription, "Know thyself." The implication was that the average person is ignorant of his true self and is therefore likely to be ignorant of true happiness. Freud would probably concur. And so what Christian theologians St. Paul and St. Augustine knew perfectly well that if you ask people about it, most of them would prefer to have sex than pray to God. Does that prove that having sex is the key to happiness? Not accordingly to Paul and Augustine. It proves only that humankind is sinful by nature and that people are easily seduced by Satan. From a Christian viewpoint, the vast majority of people are in more or less the same situation as heroin addicts. Imagine that a psychologist embarks on a study of happiness among drug users. He pawns them and finds what they declare. Every single one of them that they are only happy when they shoot up. What the psychologist published a paper declaring that heroin is the key to happiness. The idea that feelings are not to be trusted is not restricted to Christianity. At least when it comes to the value of feelings, even Darwin and Dawkins might find common ground with St. Paul and St. Augustine. According to the selfish gene theory, natural selection makes people, like other organisms, choose what is good for reproduction of their genes, even if it's bad for them as individuals. Most males spend their life toiling, worrying, competing, and fighting instead of enjoying peaceful bliss because their DNA manipulates them for its own selfish aim. Let's say that DNA use fleeting pleasures to tempt people and place them in its power. Most religions and philosophies have consequently taken a very different approach to happiness than liberalism does. The Buddhist position is particularly interesting. Buddhism has assigned the questions of happiness more importance than perhaps any other human creed. For 2.5 thousand years, Buddhists have systematically studied the essence and causes of happiness, which is why there is a growing interest among the scientific community both in their philosophy and their meditation practices. Buddhism shares the basic insight of the biology approach to happiness, namely that happiness results from processes occurring within one's body and not from events in the outside world. However, starting from the same insight, Buddhism reaches a very different conclusion. According to Buddhism, most people identify happiness with pleasant feelings, while identifying suffering with unpleasant feelings. People consequently ascribe immense importance to what they feel, craving to experience more and more pleasures while avoiding pain. Whatever we do throughout our lives, whether scratching our legs, fidgeting slightly in the chair, or fighting world wars, we are just trying to get pleasant feelings. The problem, according to Buddhism, is that our feelings are no more than fleeting vibrations, changing every moment, like the ocean waves. If 5 minutes ago I felt joyful and purposeful, now these feelings are gone, and I might well feel sad and dejected. So, if I want to experience pleasant feelings, I have to constantly chase them while driving away the unpleasant feeling. Even if I succeed, I immediately have to start all over again without ever getting any lasting reward for my troubles. What is so important about obtaining such ephemeral prizes? Why struggle so hard to achieve something is that disappear almost as soon as it arises. According to Buddhism, the root of suffering is neither the feeling of pain nor sadness nor even of meaninglessness. Rather, the real root of suffering is this never-ending and pointless pursuit of ephemeral feelings, which causes us to be in a constant state of tension, restlessness, and dissatisfaction. Due to this pursuit, the mind is never satisfied. Even when experiencing pleasure, it is not content because it fears this feeling might not disappear and craves that this feeling should stay and intensify. People are liberated from suffering not when they experience this